In the spring of 1904, a photograph was taken in a small rural town. Two young girls stood beside their home, holding their pets for what appeared to be a simple family portrait. The image seemed ordinary, the kind of photograph families treasured in an era when cameras were still rare and expensive. Ashley Ryker and her younger sister Rylee posed with a dog and a cat, their expressions serious as was customary for photographs of that time. Nobody who looked at this picture could have imagined the dark secret it contained, a secret that would remain hidden for over a century until modern technology revealed something impossible. The photograph showed the sisters standing in front of a wooden fence. Ashley, the older girl at 12 years old, held a small terrier in her arms. Rylee, only 8, stood beside her with what appeared to be a gray tabby cat. The light that day was bright, casting clear shadows across the ground. Everything looked normal. Everything looked safe. But when digital enhancement experts examined this photograph decades later, they discovered something that should not have been possible. The cat's shadow was wrong. The discovery came by accident. Margot Antonio, a historical photograph restoration specialist, received the image from a local museum. The museum had acquired it from an estate sale, part of a collection of early 20th century photographs from the region. Margot's job was to clean up the image, remove dust and scratches, and prepare it for digital archiving. She had restored thousands of old photographs before. This one seemed no different at first. She scanned it at high resolution and began her work. As Margot zoomed in on different sections of the photograph, she noticed something strange about the shadows. The dog's shadow matched its body perfectly, falling naturally across the dirt ground. Ashley's shadow and Rylee's shadow both appeared correct, but the cat's shadow looked distorted. It stretched too far. The proportions were wrong. Most disturbing of all, the shadow seemed to show a different shape than the animal Rylee was holding. Where the cat should have cast a small, rounded shadow, the darkness on the ground showed something larger, something with longer limbs and a head that appeared almost human in its structure. Margot called her colleague Emmanuel, a forensic photograph analyst who specialized in detecting manipulated images. She wanted to know if someone had altered the photograph after it was taken. Emmanuel examined the image using modern forensic techniques. He checked for signs of double exposure, manual retouching, or any other form of manipulation common in early photography. His conclusion was clear. The photograph had never been altered. Whatever created that shadow was present when the original picture was taken. The discovery raised immediate questions. What was Rylee actually holding in that photograph? If the shadow revealed the true form of the creature, then what appeared to be a cat was something else entirely. Emmanuel contacted Maxwell, a folklorist and historian who specialized in supernatural beliefs and unusual historical events from the early 1900s. Maxwell had spent years researching strange occurrences that official records either ignored or deliberately covered up. When he saw the photograph, he recognized something familiar. Maxwell had encountered stories about creatures that could disguise their appearance but could not change their shadows. These stories appeared in folklore from various cultures, but they were particularly common in rural American communities during the late 1800s and early 1900s. The legends described beings that could take the form of animals or even humans, but sunlight always revealed their true nature through their shadows. Most people dismissed these stories as superstition, but Maxwell had found too many similar accounts to ignore them completely. He began researching the history of the Ryker family and the town where the photograph was taken. What he discovered was disturbing. The town's newspaper archives contained several unusual entries from 1904. In March of that year, 2 months before the photograph was dated, several families reported their pets going missing. The articles described dogs and cats disappearing without explanation. Then, in April, a farmer reported seeing a strange animal on his property at dusk. He described it as looking like a cat from a distance, but when he got closer, something about it seemed wrong. He could not explain exactly what disturbed him, but he felt certain it was not a normal animal. The most chilling discovery came from handwritten journals kept by the town doctor. The doctor, whose name was recorded as Dr. Harrison Finch, made brief notes about unusual cases he treated. In May 1904, just weeks after the photograph was taken, he wrote about visiting the Ryker household. Ashley had become violently ill with a fever. She claimed something had visited her room at night, something that looked like their cat, but was not their cat. She described how it sat at the foot of her bed and watched her with eyes that seemed too intelligent, too aware. Dr. Finch attributed her claims to fever dreams and delirium. But there was more. Rylee, the younger sister, had also fallen ill around the same time. Unlike Ashley, Rylee did not recover. She died 3 weeks after the photograph was taken. The official cause of death was listed as pneumonia, common and often fatal for children in that era. However, Dr. Finch's private notes suggested he suspected something else. He wrote that Rylee's symptoms did not match typical pneumonia cases. She had marks on her arms that looked like deep scratches. She spoke in her sleep about the cat, about how it wanted her to come with it, about how it promised to show her wonderful things if she would just follow it into the woods behind their house. After Rylee's death, the family left town. They abandoned their home and moved to a city several hundred miles away. No records explained why they left so suddenly. Maxwell found a brief mention in a letter written by a neighbor, stating that the Ryker family seemed terrified of something. The neighbor wrote that she had seen Ashley standing in their yard one evening, staring at the tree line. When the neighbor called out to her, Ashley turned with a look of pure terror and ran inside. The family was gone within a week. Maxwell continued digging through archives and found something that made the mystery even darker. The photograph had been taken by a traveling photographer named Samuel Hewitt. Hewitt moved from town to town, offering his services to families who wanted portraits. He had been in the area for only 2 weeks before the Ryker photograph was taken. After he left, several other families reported similar experiences. Their children began having nightmares about animals that were not quite right. 2 more children in neighboring towns died under circumstances that doctors could not fully explain. The connection seemed impossible to ignore. Wherever Samuel Hewitt traveled, strange deaths followed, but there was no evidence directly linking him to any crime. No one accused him of wrongdoing. He simply moved on, leaving behind photographs and tragedy. Maxwell found records of Hewitt working in 6 different towns between 1902 and 1906. In each location, at least 1 child died within weeks of having their photograph taken. All the deaths were attributed to natural causes like fever or pneumonia, but private journals and letters from those communities told a different story. Parents whispered about curses. They spoke of shadows that moved wrong and animals that watched their children with hungry eyes. The most disturbing evidence came from comparing other photographs taken by Samuel Hewitt. Maxwell requested copies from various historical societies and private collections. Out of 20 photographs he examined, 4 showed the same anomaly. In each case, a pet appeared in the image with a shadow that did not match its visible form. In one photograph from 1903, a family dog cast a shadow that resembled something reptilian. In another from 1905, a bird in a cage had a shadow with what appeared to be human hands. The pattern was consistent and unexplainable. Emmanuel suggested a theory. Perhaps Samuel Hewitt was not causing these events but documenting them. Perhaps he knew about these creatures and deliberately photographed them to create evidence. Or perhaps he was somehow connected to them, using his camera to capture something that existed beyond normal perception. The photographs might have been his way of leaving proof, of creating a record that would survive even if no one believed the stories. Maxwell tried to trace what happened to Samuel Hewitt. The trail went cold in 1907. The last record of him was a newspaper advertisement for portrait services in a town in Pennsylvania. After that, nothing. No death record, no further advertisements, no mentions in any documents Maxwell could find. It was as if Hewitt had simply vanished. taking whatever knowledge he had with him. The question remained about what the creature in the Ryker photograph actually was. Maxwell consulted various folklore sources and found several possibilities. Some Native American traditions spoke of skinwalkers, beings that could take animal form but retained hints of their true nature. European folklore described similar creatures called fetch beasts or shadow walkers. These entities supposedly fed on life energy, particularly from children. They would disguise themselves as beloved pets to gain trust and access to their victims. The shadow in the photograph matched descriptions from several of these traditions. It showed a humanoid form, hunched and distorted, with elongated limbs and a head that seemed too large for its body. If the legends were accurate, the creature was revealing its true self through its shadow, while maintaining its disguise in physical form. The photograph captured both realities simultaneously, the lie that could be seen with normal vision, and the truth that light exposed on the ground. After all the research, one question haunted everyone who studied the photograph. Why did Ashley survive when Rylee did not? Maxwell found one possible answer in a letter Ashley wrote many years later. She had married and moved to California, living a quiet life far from her childhood home. In 1952, she wrote to her daughter about her sister's death, finally breaking decades of silence about what really happened that summer in 1904. In the letter, Ashley explained that the cat had appeared at their home one evening in early April. It seemed friendly and affectionate. Their mother had been reluctant to let them keep it, but their father said it could stay in the barn. The cat paid special attention to Rylee, following her everywhere. Rylee loved it and begged to be allowed to bring it inside. After several days, their parents agreed. Ashley wrote that she never trusted the animal. Something about its eyes disturbed her. She noticed it never ate the food they put out for it. It never made normal cat sounds. It simply watched them, especially at night. She told Rylee her concerns, but her younger sister thought she was being silly. Then came the day of the photograph. The traveling photographer had set up his equipment, and their mother insisted both girls be in the picture with their pets. Ashley held the dog. Rylee held the cat. Ashley remembered feeling a sense of dread when the photographer positioned them. She remembered how the cat tensed in Rylee's arms just before the picture was taken. She remembered the photographer pausing, looking at something through his camera, then proceeding without comment. After the photograph was taken, things got worse. Rylee started sleepwalking. Ashley would wake in the night to find her sister's bed empty. She would search and find Rylee standing outside, the cat beside her, both of them staring into the dark woods. The night Rylee became sick was the night Ashley acted. She had been pretending to sleep when she heard her sister get up. She followed Rylee outside and saw her walking toward the trees, the cat leading the way. Ashley ran after her sister and grabbed her arm. The cat turned, and Ashley saw its true face for just a moment. She described it as something that wore a cat's form like a costume, something ancient and hungry underneath. She screamed, and the sound woke their parents. The creature fled into the darkness, but it was too late for Rylee. Whatever connection had formed between her and the creature had already taken root. She developed a fever that night and never recovered. In her final days, she kept asking for the cat, crying that she needed to go with it, that she had promised. Ashley stayed by her sister's side, holding her hand, refusing to let go even as Rylee begged to be released. After Rylee died, the cat never returned. The family burned everything Rylee had touched, her clothes, her toys, her bedding. They left town because Ashley could not stop seeing shadows move wrong. She could not stop feeling watched. For the rest of her life, she avoided having her photograph taken. She never owned a pet. She raised her own children to be wary of animals that appeared suddenly, that seemed too friendly, that watched with eyes that held too much intelligence. The photograph still exists today, preserved in a private collection. Margot Antonio made copies of her enhanced version before returning the original. Those copies circulate among researchers who study unexplained phenomena. Some argue the shadow anomaly is just a trick of light or a flaw in the early photographic process. Others believe it is genuine evidence of something that should not exist. What makes the photograph particularly haunting is the expression on Rylee's face. When examined closely, her smile seems forced. Her eyes show fear, not happiness. She is holding the cat, but her hands are tense, as if she wants to let go but cannot. Ashley stands beside her, protective and alert, already aware that something is terribly wrong. The dog in Ashley's arms looks away from the cat, its body language showing clear discomfort. The photograph is more than just an image. It is a moment frozen in time, a warning preserved through accident or intention. It shows two girls, one of whom would be dead within weeks, standing with something that pretended to be a pet but was actually a predator. The camera captured what the human eye missed or refused to see. The shadow told the truth that everyone wanted to ignore. History is full of photographs like this one, images that contain hidden stories and buried secrets. Sometimes those secrets are innocent. Sometimes they are tragic. And sometimes, very rarely, they reveal that the world contains things that exist just beyond the edge of what we accept as possible. The shadow in the 1904 photograph is proof that light exposes what darkness hides, and that sometimes the most horrifying truths are the ones that were hiding in plain sight all along, waiting for someone to look closely enough to see them.